Hello everyone. We'll try that again. Hello everyone.
Good start.
Yeah, great start.
Good, well done.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the second ever Overcast Gamer Show. It's a lovely day here in central Wellington. Sun is shining. It's mostly obscured by a cloud, so I think it's probably a good time to talk about video games. I'm joined here with
Regan Harper, as per usual.
And again, Balthazar Valentine.
And we've got some great banter for you today. As per usual, we're going to go over a few things we've been playing there, jump into a few news items, and some good discussions about some driving games and PlayStation Plus and puzzle games in there as well. So that should be good. So we'll get into it. So Balthazar, I think you're up first, man.
Yeah, I've been playing a fair few games the past few weeks. I'm really just tapping on some old stuff in my Steam library. It's been PC-centric pretty much the whole time this past fortnight.
PC Master Race.
Yeah, exactly. Starting off cracking in some Undertale. Got a lot of awards and recognition in 2015.
That's the game developed by a single developer.
Yeah, everything.
He's 24 years old.
Right, the old classic.
Don't we feel like bags of shit?
Yeah. Yeah, and I got to say, I didn't enjoy it. It's one of those odd things. When you point out that it's all done by one guy, you feel kind of bad saying, nah, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But it's not in any way a demerit to his work. I think it is incredible that he's managed to do it. I just personally did not enjoy the game. I found it compelling, which I think is a very different thing to enjoyable.
Right.
I felt the drive to keep going through and reach the end of the game, and I did play through the full game. But I wouldn't really say that I had fun playing the game the whole way through, and I'm not sure if the drive to continue going was because I was enjoying what was there, or because I honestly felt there had to be something more to it as I went through because of the amount of praise it received.
So just give a little brief synopsis of what the game's about.
So it's hard to say things without spoiling it, because a lot of the game is very meta and kind of revealing what would happen. What happens would not necessarily ruin an experience, but definitely detract from kind of the enjoyment from it. So I can't go into too many specifics, but essentially you are a human. Child, could be male or female, you don't know. I assume male. There's a lot of discussion about the gender. I think really you do just kind of assume your gender onto it as you're playing. But it's, you fall down a hole, or you go into a mountain. I don't know, it's in the opening. Something, you go into a cave. I'm pretty sure you fall down a hole. You end up in some ruins, and there's monsters sort of everywhere. And as you go through, you can choose whether to be passive and preserve the life of everything down there, or be hostile and kill things. The game actually does do a very good job of kind of coaching you through the passive aspect of it and being like, this is how you make friends with monsters. Don't fight them, don't attack them, like the tutorial person Toriel says. The whole way through that starting area, like, just don't, make sure you don't kill anyone. So the game actually makes it quite clear that the anti-norm is the correct way to go in this game, that if you choose to do what you would do in any other game and kill everything, that is the bad path. It's actively telling you repeatedly, don't kill the monsters, save the monsters, do a pacifist run through kind of thing. Which in itself is cool. It's a cool thing to do and be like, hey, look, we want you to do everything against what you typically do when you play a game. And as you go through it throws some fun stuff at you. There's a lot of cool monster designs in the game. I mean, there's a skeleton that you can romance, and that's pretty cool.
That sounds pretty cool.
But yeah, no, it's one that I think it plays very heavily on the meta and addressing you not only as the person controlling the in-game character, but also as someone in yourself playing a game. And it addresses that fact a few times, and those are definitely where the game really shines, where it kind of breaks that fourth wall, and it's just like, hey, you actually sitting there reading this and playing this. But while it was interesting, again, I wouldn't necessarily say that aspect of the game lent towards making the gameplay fun. The gameplay was essentially a very repetitive loop of go through areas, solve a couple of puzzles. If you can call them puzzles, for the most part, they were just like memorizing patterns and things, and then reenacting them.
Not enough of a puzzle game to
get
fired up.
Not enough of a puzzle game to be a puzzle game, but also not enough kind of combat elements to be a fighting RPG or anything, and almost not enough story to be a narratively driven game either. Like, honestly, it's almost there in every aspect, but not quite there in any aspect, in my opinion. And I think
do you know? Have you looked into sort of reviews and things and what people have like nailed down as like this? What causes it to be the amazing game that they all say?
Yes and no. So I've only looked into a few reviews, and I stopped right there because all of them were just like 10 out of 10, best game ever. If you don't get it, you're just a dummy. And I'm like, no, why don't you explain what I'm not getting, and then maybe I'll get it, or maybe I will continue to disagree and say, well, no, I think it's a
maybe it's one of those things where they're sort of doing it, and then when you play through it, you don't quite get it. You feel a little bit.
I feel like it could also partially be down to the hype. It won so many awards and was talked about so highly before I ever actually played it, that when I got into it, I was expecting so much from it that it let me down.
Right.
And I think maybe if I just found this game on Steam on a sale for a cheap price, I would honestly actually have never picked it up because of the screenshots and it looks.
It's a very ugly looking game. It's incredibly.
If I had, maybe if it was in a humble bundle or something with other stuff I wanted, so I got it, I would have played it. And had I never heard anything about it, perhaps I would have thought it was really fresh, original, inspiring, creative, just incredible game. But because I'd heard so much about it ahead of time, it didn't live up to the hype. And for me, that just left me with kind of like as I said, I played it to finish and I never really had the intention to stop before the end.
Right.
I was compelled to keep going the whole way through to the end, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I enjoyed playing it right through to the end.
Interesting, okay. And you've got anything else you've been jamming?
Yeah, so I finished Legacy of the Void campaign. Something I picked up when it came out, got sort of 50% of the way through and then just stopped for whatever reason, other games coming out usually. Finished it up, and yeah, I mean, I'm not a big RTS player because I'm pretty crap at RTS, not good at strategy games. I played the campaign on casual and I actually failed one of the missions still, even on casual, so that's really right,
there's no shame in it.
I suck at RTS games. But I play them because I enjoy when there is a story. Typically I would enjoy the story, Grey Goo being a good example of that, of a recent RTS, and often campaigns introduce fun mechanics that aren't in multiplayer RTS matches or anything like that. They kind of throw away one-off mechanics, and I think that's what Legacy of the Void does really well. Unfortunately, the story was pretty lacking, especially as a conclusion to a kind of trilogy. It felt very just staple, generic, kind of like, we're the good guys, we're going to unite everyone. We were.
Do you suppose it was like that because perhaps they were relying on the fact that, hey, people are probably just going to play this online with their friends?
I think very much, yeah. The thing about it is why it plays very well, but the story wasn't that great, is Blizzard actually adopted a new policy semi-recently. I say semi-recently, I think it was a year ago or so now, where they said they were going to build all their future games and expansions around gameplay first and foremost, and then storytelling second, whereas previously they'd always done storytelling first and then built a game that was able to convey the story effectively. Now they're like, we're going to build a game that's fun to play, and then we're going to put a story into that game. And I think that's where Legacy of the Void really shines, is that the campaign has so many throwaway mechanics. I mean, we brought up Mario 3 was recently having that, and Legacy of the Void is another great example of that. It will have missions where it will have something that only exists within that one mission. Like there's one where you're on a base that you have to constantly move. So you have to use arrow prompts on the screen to move the space up, right, down, to move your kind of resource collection around as you deplete areas, and also keep yourself ahead of the kind of enemy convoy that's roaming the map and trying to find and destroy your base, which really cool mechanic. One mission and then it's gone. Some other cool ones is a mission towards the end where you lose bases as you go. So every sort of few minutes, this character will just completely annihilate a base on the map. Just gone. And again, it's like it was really cool because it really made you feel like I need to either build a crap load of bases everywhere I can, or I really need to press on with these objectives and finish. And yeah, it did that stuff really well, but then the story just wasn't there. It was, I mean, the cutscenes were very pretty, Blizzard cutscenes, very nice animation and stuff, but the story itself was not what I expected. Given the ending of Heart of the Swarm, Legacy of the Void did not live up to kind of the end the peak that the franchise reached at that point. I wouldn't say that's the peak in storytelling, actually. Probably what was it called? The expansion to the original StarCraft, I think, was the peak of the StarCraft storytelling. But Heart of the Swarm was getting there again with StarCraft 2. It was really good, and then Legacy of the Void just kind of petered out a bit.
Okay. It's a shame.
Not great.
Have you dabbled in many RTS games?
Not a fan of RTSs.
Not a fan?
Nah, can't be dealing with it. I can't be dealing with sort of like, putting in hours and hours into building up an army and building up a barracks, and you go to fight someone else and their army happens to be 3 times as big as yours and you just get fucked and that's the end of your game. Like, that
just doesn't appeal to you.
Does not appeal to me in the slightest.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And then the thing about it is, even if you win one of those, a map or whatever, all you get is you are victorious.
Yeah.
And then
the next game,
I played a bit of Age of Empires back in the day because it used to, they sold it in cereal box for a while.
Yeah.
I remember that. Kellogg's sold these classic games. I managed to get Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX and Age of Empires or Cocoa Pops.
Good job.
So yeah, I played Age of Empires, and the most fun I had with it was just putting in every single cheat possible and roaming around the map.
Yeah, for me it was custom mode where you set up and you just build scenarios for yourself, and you're like, this team's going to have 1,000,000 siege weapons and this team's just going to have a dude behind a wall. Let's see how he takes the siege weapons to annihilate.
Or like put in Gaia and you become like all the animals, like roaming around and all that sort of stuff. But nah, not a fan of them.
Not a fan?
Can't be dealing with them.
I think I haven't played one in a long time. I'll put that out there. And probably Age of Empires 2 for me was the Age of Kings was a really, really cool game. And I played that a bit. And I remember getting it for Christmas one year and just losing my shit, just being stoked. And then having to spend like a month to save up to buy a new graphics card or something to get the old school piece of shit computer that we had at the time to run it. But once that happened, it was great. And it's, I think those games are sort of, the appeal to me would be similar to the appeal to playing an online FPS, something where you're battling your mates and it's being able to beat another real person. That's the fun part. But yeah, haven't played them in a while, so I guess
I understand. I'm probably one of the least competitive people in the world, so that probably doesn't help, to be honest. Most things I just don't really care about. I just want to be left alone to my own devices and have a developer guide me through a story or put me in a world that I can explore. And
someone who does that really well, actually, which is another game I've been playing this past fortnight, is BioWare. Going back to their roots with storytelling, I decided to download The Old Republic, give it a whirl. Yeah. Supposedly the new expansion has been, really good and a true return to form for BioWare storytelling. They give you the option to create a level 60 character straight away and jump straight into the expansion, but it did have the little note saying this will pick up right where the story ended from the main game. So I decided to flag that, make a level 1.
It's a free to play game, right?
Free to download. Now, what I've heard is you need to be a subscriber to get into the expansion. Since I made a level 1, not a level 60, and I'm playing the main story, I don't know if I'm going to hit that point where it's like, sorry, you can't continue, you need to be a subscriber. If that is the case, I think it's like $7 for a month, and I can't see the story taking more than that. So if I get through the main game and I've really enjoyed it, the story, and it is good and I want to carry on, I'll happily pay $7 for a month subscription or what have you. That's something I vaguely dabbled in a bit. I made a character, decided to be an evil Jedi rather than a Sith, because it's like Sith are just a bit too evil, They're like, someone's like, hey, can you do this quest for me? And you're like, not only will I not do your quest, but I will tie you to this chair and then kill your parents in front of you.
I never got the level of evil with the Sith. I don't quite, sure, evil, that's great, but evil for evil's sake and killing for just because.
Being a dark Jedi is where all the fun's at, because you've got all the stiffs around you being like, observe the code and be great, and you just walk into a tavern. Actually, this is an actual example of what happened in the game. Walk into an area, help save them out, do a Twi'lek check, who's like, isn't this against the code? And I'm like, fuck the code, let's have sex. So we did it, and then they're like, you've broken your vows, and then you get another chick in your group who's a person, and she's all like, this is bad, don't do this, and you're just like, no, just go wait in the ship if you don't like what I'm doing. I believe it's an actual dialogue option I had. Just go wait over there. You don't have to observe it if you disagree. And great lines like when you finish a quest and they're like, oh, we've helped you with your thing, and your character just walks in, overrides it and goes, yep, I've done it again. Like, just being a bad Jedi is where all the fun is at. And yeah, so started off that and then just launched into another MMO which just released called Blade and Soul. Just released in the West. It's been out in kind of Eastern territories for, I think, over a year now.
Which you're enjoying, right?
I am. I say in a very reserved tone because originally the first thing I did was I booted up the game and you go to character select, character creation rather. And something I always like to do is just go through all the races, both male and female, and see kind of the best combination to try and get the most badass looking character kind of thing, or have a preview of some of the armors maybe and be like, who looks the coolest and some of the gear that you can get in the game. And the immediate thing I noticed when switching from generic male A to generic female A was that if you rotate them even half a degree to the side, physics all over the chest. Well, it's supposed to be physics, I think. It's not. It's like a lack of gravity in that region, and they'll just jiggle for like 2 minutes after half a degree of rotation. It's absolutely mental. And the game likes to show this off by having all the armor not be armor, you know? It's like on a dude, it's like, yeah, look at this classic Eastern robe thing I have, and on chicks like, look at this classic Eastern robe I have from the stomach down and then just hanging out at the top. Like, you know, I've just got a little bra maybe, but not really. It's more like a piece of string. Look at the jiggle. So I had a laugh at that.
So this is why you're enjoying the game.
I had a laugh at that, and then I was like, all right, let's just try it, because from what I've heard, the combat in this game is amazing for an MMO. Like, it's kind of single player RPG quality combat in an online game. So I clicked play game, and it was like, cool, don't forget this game just literally came out today, so you're 860 something a thing queue to get into the game, estimated wait time 6 hours. And I was like, all right, let's quit that and whatever. Went to work the next day, came home, and the missus was playing it on her computer. She downloaded it, made a character, and was in the game. And I was like, I have to give it a crack now, because she's playing it and seems to really be enjoying it. So I logged in, however many hours in queue again. I was like, God damn it. It's like, hey,
That's not how gaming works.
Want to jump the queue? Premium members get in straight away.
Fuck, that sounds terrible.
And I was like, so this is
Is
their
there
thing.
actually a queue?
This is their thing. There actually is, because I did get in, waiting in queue, and then it turns out that a Razer app I have on the computer interacted with their anti-hack system and crashed the game. So as soon as I got into the game, I was crashed. So I closed all those apps, joined up, and was like, I'm not waiting 6 hours again. Watching her play it, I'm like, this game looks really fucking cool. $7 for a premium membership. All right, fine, whatever. $7.
This is one of your pre-order tokens.
This is one of my pre-order tokens that's not letting me use my card at the moment. So I did it. I was like, okay, whatever, $7. 2 Vs kind of thing. Like, I won't get my next 2 Vs. I'm going to get just a lie. But got in, fun game. Very fun game, considering I just downloaded it as a laugh because I heard the Western version was censored, and I'm like, what if they needed to censor? Immediately understood, because the Eastern version apparently is even less clothing than the Western. Like, the Western version, a female character starts off pretty much in underwear. The Eastern version, they start off in see-through underwear. So
always have to wonder.
But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. I made a character who looks exactly like Asura from Asura's Wrath, one of my favourite games of all time. Literally, it's just him. It is just exactly him. I even found an outfit that's his exact outfit. So I'm just running around, hammering stuff. Combat's cool. It's kind of like a mixture of classic MMO in terms of kind of your multiple skill bars and everything mixed with Smite, as in kind of the AWSD movement with the mouse looking around, but then the left click, right click kind of auto attack, stronger auto attack. It's like an odd combination between a single player action RPG and an MMO, but it actually works really well. You can go to settings to change it, so it's classic MMO where you kind of use the mouse for movement and you can move your hotkey skills to the entire keyboard, but I quite like the action combat.
Okay.
Really interesting. Surprised. Very surprised, and it makes me just kind of go, NCSoft, what are you doing? Like, you had a great game and then you just nudied it up as though you didn't have a great game, kind of thing. Like it does lead me to wonder where quite the design choice was there, that it was already a great game that was going to hook people in with its story, somehow good story, its combat and its character design. When you do get in, you get there. It's a pretty good character creation tool. There's quite a lot of variety there. Definitely one of the best in an MMO I've ever experienced. So it's like with everything that's there, I just question why they also decided to make it kind of R18. Like, it just feels like that's something you do to a game that's horribly failing and sucks to try and get the pre-teens in and get them to spend a bit of money to buy the thing from the cash shop that removes underwear or whatever, like, and in this game it's like, it was a fine game, it was all there, it didn't need this. Why was it there? I don't know.
It's unfortunate, those cultural differences, which can have an impact on the actual quality of the game and how it's perceived like that. But
that's the thing, right? Like, a lot of people would go, "This is a great game," and I also get
boobs. I mean, I've got the best of both worlds because I don't have to look like one of those pervs online. So I'm running around as a giant, muscly male character. But I only ever play it with the missus, who is playing a practically naked, large-breasted woman. So it's like, I get the best of both worlds without looking to be a perv. And I have to say, it's just a fun game. It's surprised me. I don't know how long it will last. The funness, like, a lot of the fun is the combat. So probably as soon as I stop getting new skills and constantly evolving my fighting and everything, and it will potentially just become grind. But I put about 8-10 hours into it so far, still enjoying it. So it's interesting. It's worth checking out. It's totally free to download and play. I'd say give it a month or two when all the kind of people just wanting to look at it because it's a new MMO move on, so you actually log in and get in straight away without having to make an arbitrary purchase. But
okay,
fun for a free game, free NC soft game. And if you download the NC launcher, you can see the whole category of games, all of which are free to play. So you've got Wildstar on there, you've got Lineage, they're all free games, free MMOs with pretty, some of them have pretty big player bases. So it's worth just taking a look at NCSoft's back catalogue. Really, if you've got a spare weekend, want to try something online with some friends for free, play themselves pretty good.
Cool. I'll go now because I'm not sure. Regan, you don't have anything that you played?
Not really. No. My last week has been pretty boring.
Yeah.
Not something that I really want to.
Relove.
Talk all about.
Fair enough.
So go for it. Yeah.
I'll just jump back into, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but all I've been playing is The Witcher 3. After your impassioned talk about it, last time we did this, I jumped back into it that evening and it's got its claws into me good because that's all I've been playing at least 3 hours a day, every day. And with working a 9-to-5 job, that's pretty tricky.
I'm impressed by that. Good job.
I'm loving it. Yesterday, I got to Skellige. Only yesterday. This is my first time I've ever been to Skellige.
How do you feel about Skellige?
It's the most beautiful open world I've ever seen in my entire life, in any game.
Wow.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Skellige is incredible. Like, as soon as, your shipwrecks and you get onto the shore and you look around and there's harpies swarming in the sky and it's beautiful. You can see isles out, little separate isles in the ocean and stuff. I was just like, this has got me absolutely smitten. This game is absolutely incredible. So I'm probably only about maybe 2 or 3 hours into Skellige now. But my God, it's just, I'm loving that game so much. It just gets better and better. It's easing its way into my upper echelon of like favourite games of all time. And I think by the time I've finished it, which God knows when that's going to be, but I think it's going to be in like my top 5 or something like that.
Once you get, I think what happened for me when I got into Skellige was like I'd seen White Orchard, Velen, Novigrad. I'd seen that and I thought, man, this is a pretty big game. There's a lot there to do. And then I got into Skellige and went, look at it.
Exhale.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm not going to stop playing this game for another year or so. That was my impression of Skellige. It is beautiful.
The Witcher does several things really, really well. So getting into Skellige and talking to the people in Skellige, there's a very separate mentality in Skellige than there is in Velen and in Novigrad. Everyone in Velen and Novigrad seems just miserable and they just, most of them hate you and they're just sitting there and they're wallowing in their own filth. And you get into Skellige and everyone's just like, stuff's a bit shitty, but we kind of deal with it. We just stiff upper lip and all that. I'm like, man, this is really refreshing. Like, everyone's not just wailing because their husband just got hung because he burned down someone's mill. And you get into Skellige and they're sending off this Jarl, they call him, king kind of thing, sending him off in a big Viking type boat, and it's all very emotional, and everyone's just. Then they all get pissed at a wake. Like, man, everyone's having a really good time here. I might just stay on Skellige. I don't think I'll ever go back to Velen now. But yeah, and another thing I just noticed, The Witcher has accomplished something that I've been pining for in games for a long, long time, and that's the feeling of complete immersion in the middle of a forest. Like, just the light is all blocked out. There's massive pine trees and things, and shrubberies and stuff all around you. You just feel like there's this microcosm that you're in right now, and it's part of a bigger thing, but for the life of you, you can't see any way out of this forest, and you just feel completely immersed. And Velen did that to some extent, like Crookback Bog and things like that. The Skellige does that just on a whole nother level. There was times where I was looking around and I was just like, I have no idea where I came from. Like, I fought some monsters and then got really disoriented.
Lost.
I was actually lost, yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to look at my board map because this is fucking awesome, and I'm going to try and find my way out of here. And I've never had an experience like this before in my life. So.
I think that comes, and my impression of it comes from scale. I think the only other game that I've sort of had that with would be maybe something like Skyrim, if you're not like really paying attention to where you're at on your map and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Take a wrong turn, walk across a creek or something, and you can get literally lost.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to let yourself get, just kind of get immersed in that kind of experience, it's a pretty awesome thing to get lost in a video game.
It is amazing.
And I guess to role play that as well. Like, imagine if, I mean, to be honest, in real life, if I went for a walk in a bush, I would be instantly lost.
Yep.
It'd be just gone. And it takes away all the scary parts of that, and then you're just like, oh, this is great. The thing I found about The Witcher as well is I don't know about you guys, but I barely use my horse now. I don't really use my horse at all. I just walk everywhere. I don't even run. I just amble forward. I just keep like push the forward on the control stick and don't even touch X. And it's just like a light jog kind of thing, because I'm just like, I just want to look at everything. Like, it's just absolutely gorgeous, that game. Every time I save it, I make sure I'm in like the most picturesque possible location. So I turn it back on, and then I'm like, that's right. This game, fuck yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at The Witcher. So I'll be on Skellige for a while, I reckon. And it's slowly becoming one of my favourite games I've ever played.
Excellent. I think something else Skellige did. You talked about the immersion, especially with the forest stuff, but something to do with the immersion that really got me with Skellige is a lot of RPGs do that whole multiple nations or groups of people.
Yep.
But it comes across as somewhat forced. You'll go to a different continent or something like that, and it will feel completely disconnected. And you're like, okay, I get you, people are different, but this doesn't even feel like the same world, and not in a way that's kind of like they're worlds apart, but in a way that's kind of like you've done diversity for the sake of diversity, and it doesn't cohesively fit in this world. But I think they did an amazing job with Skellige, and that, like you said, it's such a juxtaposition to kind of Velen, where everyone's cheerful, and I mean, there's just been a death of their Jarl, but they're all celebrating his life rather than yet it still all felt very consistently The Witcher. Like, this was all still clearly the same world, and reasons like this were these differences were the reason that the people of Skellige don't like the people of the mainland and stuff like that. It's because they're like, why can't they just get on with life? Why are they so miserable and sulking over everything?
Aren't they? They're just so fucking miserable.
Absolutely.
The difference was what helped hammer in that this was the same world. This was just a totally different group of people, and they nailed it in a way that I've not really experienced in an RPG before.
No. It reminds me of when I went to the United Kingdom last year, going through base England and stuff, and Skellige reminds me of Cornwall in the United Kingdom. It's sort of it's the separate nation who everyone outside that world would consider part of this one thing, but they don't want anything to do with the other people, and they're completely off the grid, so to speak, and they're vying for their independence and stuff like that, and it just reminded me a lot of that. But they have Northern Irish accents, which is fucking awesome as well. So it's brilliant.
I think that's the thing that perhaps where they've drawn it from is like is kind of like a medieval England type and the Scandinavian Viking type thing with their own sort of fairy tale-ish kind of flair to it, which is really cool. And then they've had 2 other games in the past to sort of like really eat that stuff out and hand it down, which I haven't played, but I'm actually really keen to go back and play now, having experienced Witcher 3. I don't know, maybe I'll be disappointed going back and playing
Witcher
1 and 2.
is very amusing. The animations, I played them leading up to Witcher 3 and I couldn't get through all of 1. It was very... I mean, this was the enhanced edition, which was supposedly the drastically improved one, but you just can't get over the fighting. Like, I couldn't. I just couldn't get over the fact... It's not really clunky, it's a rhythm game as opposed to 2 and 3, in that you have to time your mouse click.
Right.
I mean, I played 1 and 2 on PC because I don't have a 360. But yeah, it's very... you time your click, so it's like you click once and you attack, and then there'll be, I believe there's some sort of prompt on the screen with kind of like a rotate thing. It's like, click within this time frame to do your follow-up attack and then your third attack to complete your combo, and you kind of do that, and you can do light combos, heavy combos, AoE combos based on the style you choose. So you have like kind of the cat style, the swallow style.
Right.
But the thing that got me was just the combat animations. He wouldn't swing his sword like in Witcher 3, he'd hold it over his head and go like that.
Just swinging around the top of his head.
It was ridiculous, and I watched it and I was like, who fights like this? What is this?
Power Rangers.
And that just kind of brought me out of it too much, and I was like, all right, on to Witcher 2. And Witcher 2 was great fun. I think I would potentially... it doesn't really change 3 too much, knowing characters ahead of time, but definitely I think knowing people like Dandelion ahead of time potentially gave me a better experience with 3. So I was like, cool, he's in trouble again. What's the other two? So definitely Witcher 2 is a great one, even to go back to after 3. It doesn't feel too much behind it. There's definitely differences. It feels like 3 built upon, the existing mechanics of 2 and improved upon them. But 2 still seems, for the most part, to have most of the mechanics of 3, so you can have a lot of fun with it. So it doesn't feel like a downgrade too much.
I think the biggest thing for me going back and playing 2, 1 or 2, whatever, would be sort of understanding the impact that Ciri has had on the world, because when you play through 3, like for example, when you get into Skellige, you even see Ermion the druid, and he says things like, Ciri means she's dear to me in my heart as well, and things like that, even though he's a crotchety old bastard. And it's like, well, why? I don't know enough of the backstory to know why she's had such an impact on everyone that you come across. So that kind of stuff would be interesting for me to find out, because I have just enjoyed The Witcher 3 so much that I just it's one of those things, I want to know everything about the franchise. But
to me it kind of gives it just another level of mystique, where I'm just I'll find out later on, I will assume, or via reading some book or something, why she's had such an impact on the world, or what her place is, and how she's affected this sort of stuff. But just to end on the Witcher 3, and I promise I won't bring the Witcher 3 up again in games we've played, because otherwise it'll just turn into a Witcher 3 podcast. But one thing I really stuck out with me is the wind in that game, because I don't think I've ever seen an open world game. Possibly not many have wind, and not many have that incredible level of wind. Like, that's something that just puts it on another level, is the wind, because I'm thinking of games like Red Dead Redemption or GTA. Like, GTA has wind and stuff, but it just feels like, pixels are moving to another location or something like that. In The Witcher, all the trees are bending, the rain's moving to the wind. It's like, wear it with headphones, that game's on a whole nother level. It's incredible, like, they've thought of everything really to build the immersion in that game. It's a hell of an achievement. And they have more of a command of the English language, and they're Polish, than a lot of English developers I know. So go figure that, because the books are incredible that you read, like the dialogue in the books and everything. It's like reading a mini novel, every one of them. So fucking pull your socks up, Ubisoft, and they're French, but I mean, pull your socks up, EA, and ridiculous. Anyway,
so I think what we can glean from that is there's a new benchmark, and one should be aspiring to that.
Absolutely a new benchmark. My Witcher 3 review will be up when we get things up and moving, so you can feel free to go read that. Into news, boys. So first bit of news we've got, this is a little bit old now, but still quite relevant. Uncharted 4 delayed again.
When has it been delayed to?
Now I believe it's, what was it last time? Is it May now, or is it June now?
I thought it was
June.
It was June now.
It was originally March, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be June because the VR stuff has taken all of June. So I don't think they'd put it in June because they'd want all the focus to be on the VR stuff. So it might be May. But that's the second delay, right? So it's had 2 so far. So that's fine. 2 delays is almost a Naughty Dog staple now. We had 2 delays with The Last of Us. I think we had 2 delays with Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 3. I can't remember one of them. So that's all good. That's all well and good. I'm going to start getting concerned when there's a 3rd delay, or if and when there's a 3rd delay.
Do delays from developers like Naughty Dog concern you though? Like realistically, for me, my thought is, hey, you guys know what you're doing.
Yep.
You've proved that a few times now.
Yep.
You can take that time. Take a couple of extra months. If it's shit, take that time to polish it up.
I think it really does depend. I mean, I'm not concerned with this delay. I think that really, when a game is delayed, unless it's Duke Nukem Forever, it can only get better. Because it's being pushed back for a reason. That reason is something isn't complete. Something isn't working to the standard they want it to. And so I'm absolutely fine with that. On the other hand, it does depend on what isn't to the standard they want it to be. If the single player is all done and dusted and they're just working on multiplayer fixes, I could not care less. And in fact, putting more and more and more time and effort into the multiplayer in a way could end up detracting from the single player because if they just try to put too much into it in order to get it all running on the one disc and running, get the multiplayer running stable to the level they want it to, they may need to decrease resolution, decrease textures, which may have a ripple effect back onto the single player.
Right.
So for me, no, I'm not concerned. But I think it does depend whether a delay is kind of not acceptable, but how I would receive it, it would be based on why it's delayed. If it is delayed for multiplayer fixes, I couldn't care less, just put the game out now. If the single player's done, let's be honest, no one plays your shitty multiplayer Uncharted. It's not good. It's not good.
I think Uncharted 2 multiplayer was well received. A lot of people like Uncharted 2
because it was in an era where multiplayer on single-player games felt very tacked on, and Uncharted was one of the first ones to be a single-player franchise to have multiplayer that didn't feel tacked on. It felt like its own separate, independent mode. And it was good at the time. And then Uncharted 3 came out and didn't do anything with it. They left it exactly the same as it was, just with different maps. And by that time, it didn't really feel good anymore. And Uncharted 4, again, doesn't look any different than the 3 multiplayer. And it's just... people have their multiplayer games, and I just don't think Uncharted is really... people who are enthusiastic about multiplayer console games, I don't think Uncharted is on anyone's list of, this is my game, I'm competitive and Uncharted only. I don't think that really happens. They tried. God knows they tried. With Uncharted 3, they had those little videos on the login screen and everything. It was like, top plays of the week, and it was put to Skrillex and other... Oh my God, it was atrocious. They tried really hard to make it a competitive scene, but it's just not going to be. That's what COD and Battlefield and stuff are for. Like, if you want to casually chuck in a multiplayer experience, be my guest, but don't constantly delay your game just for that. Again, not saying that is what it is. We don't know what it is. I'm just saying if it is that, just release your game now.
I have utmost faith as well. I'm not concerned about the delay, and I know Bruce Straley and Neil Druckmann know exactly what they're doing. But when it gets to, if there is a 3rd delay, that's when I'll start being like, what's going on here? Like, what? You've had, more than enough time at this point. But at the moment, I think it's fine. It's just a bit strange that well, I guess it's not strange because they're following suit with their previous games and delaying twice. But we'll have to see what comes of that. So another thing was Kojima is free from his cave.
He's escaped.
He's escaped. He's been let loose of his contract from Konami, and what better way to celebrate than a worldwide friendship and tech tour? Seems to be what he's doing. I've been following his tweets that have popped up every now and then, and it's quite interesting. It's very inspirational broken English. It's quite hilarious to follow. But he seems like he's having a whale of a time, and he's just traveling around. He's meeting with PlayStation architects like Mark Cerny and stuff like that. And the CEO of Sony, and just because he's got that partnership with Sony now, so he's traveling around and just checking out all this technology he hasn't been able to to grab whilst he's been locked away in his cave.
It makes me feel like he's been this guy who's been sort of like locked up in a foreign prison or something.
That's exactly right.
And he's been sort of...
It's the Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption moments.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah, exactly. And he's been released and he's gone back to his home country and suddenly everyone's his friend again.
Yeah.
And he's just loving it.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
He's like, breathe in that fresh air. But that stale Konami, like, office cube, whip people with extension cords, allegedly. But,
that's really cool. And so, because I remember him sitting down with what's his face from PlayStation, and my memory of it is we're going to make a Metal Gear like game.
Yes, I remember saying that. Yeah, it's going to be just enough to not violate the IP.
Yeah,
wooden cog liquid, I believe.
Yeah. So no, it makes me happy seeing those sorts of images, and he's got his whole Kojima Productions studio going now, and it's. Looks to be going really well, and if he's going to be able to work on projects like the late and great PT/Silent Hills or anything to that caliber, we have a lot to look forward to in the future from him. Especially Kojima mixed with VR. If VR does become a good thing and an interesting thing, that's going to be something that I'm going to be keeping my eye on.
Well, I seem to recall after the PT Silent Hills cancellation as well, as upset as obviously Guillermo was with it, he did say that while he'd kind of lost his faith in the gaming industry, he was still very passionate about a project with Hideo and doing something with him at some point. So I think definitely if he's lost faith in the games industry because of, publishers like Konami and what they did, I think that if, Kojima is in, at the helm of his own future now, essentially, there's definitely potential for something between the two of them again, because I know they were both definitely up for a project together even after that cancellation. So I think that if they can be put in charge of it and not have to answer to anyone else, then they'd both be pretty stoked to work on that. So I would say that while obviously it can't be Silent Hills because Silent Hill is a Konami property, there's still very much the potential for PT to become something, which is an exciting prospect.
Integrate that as part of a different game, or even the mood, or just how it worked, kind of thing.
Would you guys say that that's what you're most excited about with this whole move? Something along those lines?
I was very excited to have a Kojima-based horror game. I've been a Silent Hill franchise fan of Silent Hill franchise for a long time. I played 1, 2, 3, The Room. I think that's where I stopped playing because they got a bit shit. But they were fantastic. They're still the scariest games to date. I've played as Silent Hill 2. So I was very, very excited to see what he could do. And PT just freaked the shit out of me. So I was loving it. Loving it. But yeah, we'll see what becomes of that. But it's good to have Kojima off his leash. And
absolutely. It seems like, it just feels good.
Right. It does.
It's one of those.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a really good feeling.
I wonder what we'll see next from Konami.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys.
It's slot machines now.
It is Silent Hill Pachinko.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys. Is there any other Konami properties that you follow that will you be buying any more Konami games?
Yu-Gi-Oh! No. I'm pretty sure they just put a new one out on the PlayStation Store.
The ones I can think of, I'm not going to be buying any of these, but these are the Konami franchises I can think of, which are Zone of Enders, which God, I don't think that's even a thing anymore. We've got Pro Evolution Soccer, which is apparently 2016 version is apparently very, very good.
I've heard really good things.
I'm not a soccer fan, but apparently it is. Then they've got Castlevania. Which I like Castlevania, but I wouldn't buy a full price Konami version of Castlevania.
No.
I mean, is there anything else you guys? Oh, no, I can't think. Is there anything else you guys can think of?
No, I mean they still obviously own the rights to a lot of things that were previously Kojima games. I mean, they said they're not stopping Metal Gear games. Just gone.
That's another thing. I don't think I'm going to be buying another Metal Gear game.
I've got to say it depends on what it is. Metal Gear Solid, no faith now that Kojima's gone. But if Konami still works with Platinum Games to pump out some sequels to Rising, I'd still pick those up.
Yep.
The storytelling was non-existent, but the gameplay itself was a Platinum game. No, it wasn't a Konami game. It was a Platinum Games game, and that was fun. So I'd still keep an eye on that kind of thing. But as for the IP they actually own, not really. I mean, for me, it was really only Metal Gear Solid anyway from them, and that was purely because of Hideo.
They're definitely in the same boat as EA now. If I do pick up one of their games, I feel pretty bad about it. I feel like I've done a very dirty thing. So yeah, I can't see myself picking up any Konami games in the future.
Yeah, perhaps they will go down sort of more of a arcade type route, and we might see some more sort of Dance Revolution and that kind of stuff.
I mean, I wouldn't say no to that. I wouldn't buy it.
No,
but if
you wouldn't buy it.
When I visit Japan, I'd gladly play it. And in one of their arcades or something like that. But yeah, Konami's gone down the shitter, and I don't think anyone really cares about them anymore. So that's it. And Hideo Kojima is having a whale of a time growing his beard out, giving daily Twitter updates on beard growth. So enjoy that.
I should tell you guys actually too. This is completely unrelated to gaming, but do you guys ever find that when you shave and you get the beard shavings in the sink and it's a real bitch to clean up? It was my flatmate's birthday yesterday, and he got given this thing called a beard bib, which is basically imagine when you go to the barber, they put that nylon sheet over you. So it's essentially that, and it's a small version of that, and on the corners of it are two sort of suction pads. So you put on this bib thing and suction it to the mirror that's in front of you, and it creates this big sort of trough. And then you shave, and it catches all your beardy bits, and then you just unplug it off the wall, walk it to the bin, shake it off, done. How genius is that?
So the beard bib. We're always looking for sponsorships. So.
Beard bib. I can't remember what the name of the company was that made it.
Konami, yeah.
Possibly Konami. Yeah. So let us know.
Yeah, after we've just shat all over them, but might cut that bit out. And beard bib. Go and get one. Go and buy one. Sounds like a quality product. The last thing on the news agenda here. There's a quite interesting point about Hitman becoming episodic. And Final Fantasy 15, is it?
7.
Oh, the 7 remake. Sorry. Alright, so you talk about that. That's your thing.
Yeah, it's just something interesting. Not necessarily that they've gone episodic. I don't really find that interesting. More frustrating. But if that's what they're going to do, that's what they're going to do. I think it's more the reason that apparently, supposedly, they're going episodic because Square has lost faith in console sales. And they don't believe that if they release them as complete games, they'll make all the money back. But if they release them episodically, they can decide whether or not to keep going with the development of the rest of the chapters based on the revenue from the released chapters. Which, if that is the case, opens up to the possibility that if people are like, no, we don't like episodic, and decide to vote with their wallets and don't buy it, people who do buy it will get episode 1 of the Final Fantasy VII remake, and then there'll never be another episode because they didn't make enough money. I don't get it. If they want to release it episodically, I say they should release it episodically, stand by their decision, and give their actual reasons. Because I don't buy this reason that they've given, that they don't have faith in console sales. Because if it's specifically that they've said they don't have faith in console sales, but they've released all their games on Steam as well recently.
I'm confused because how can you not have faith in an audience for that game when it was announced? There was literally people crying when that game when the remake was announced at E3.
That's what I mean. I don't buy it. I think they're trying to come up with a reason that they think people will buy into as to why they've just made the decision to release it episodically.
Right.
And I would be much more accepting if they just came forward and said, we've decided to release it episodically. Okay, let's see how this works out for you.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a sort of a backlash to the response from people when they did announce that it was just going to be episodic. Because a lot of people, there was a lot of hate for that.
Yeah.
Which I don't really get myself. Because I'm, let's say, they could kind of use it as a really cool storytelling thing. Let's say that the end of the first kind of episode of the remake would be when you get to the top of Shinra and Sephiroth has just gone crazy and murdered everyone, and you walk into the office and there's just blood everywhere, and that could be the end of the first episode. That would be an awesome ending to the kind of first part of that game. So it could be a really good thing, and
hire an extra dude just for narration. Who is the mysterious vigilante with white hair? Find out next time in episode 2 of Final Fantasy VII HD Remake PS4 PSN Plus Edition.
That's probably where you popped in just 2 on PlayStation 1 version, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so They can split it up at how it used to be over discs.
Yeah, I think it was shortly after that you did an escape and you got out of Midgar, and that was the end of the first disc. But I'm with you. Like I don't. It feels like a hollow kind of rationale for doing the episodic thing, and there's still plenty of people who have bought consoles, and it could be a console seller. Like if there's people who have gone off buying a PlayStation because they just haven't had a game since Final Fantasy VII that they've really enjoyed, then a remake is going to get them to buy that console.
Mm-hmm.
It's it doesn't feel like a good rationale to me.
I think, especially when they lump the fact that they're doing it with Hitman and Final Fantasy VII at the same time, because Hitman, to me, feels like it lends itself to episodic content. People out there who are fans of the franchise might disagree. I'm not a huge fan. I've just played a few of them. And they're episodic games. They're done in levels. You select the level and then you start. So it feels like, if they wanted to make sure they weren't making more than they were going to get money back for, make it episode by episode, see how it sells. That seems like it would work fine for me. But Final Fantasy VII is just an odd one.
Hitman's not Square as well, right? Who's the publisher of that? It's developed by Eidos.
I thought it was Square Publishing.
Is it Square Publishing?
I don't think it was originally, but I think the more recent one, what was it, Absolution?
Yeah, Absolution.
I think that was a Square game.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting then. So that's just their whole...
Yeah, perhaps that's just the way that company's going.
The whole paradigm.
And I don't necessarily disagree, but then again, it depends on the release schedule, I guess. If they're going to be putting it a year between releases, people might prefer that they just release it later as a complete game, so they don't have to wait. But then if they're just going to be releasing it every 4 months, and it's the difference between getting episode 1 this year or getting getting the full game in 2 years' time, people might change their tune and be like, actually, I'd rather get episode 1 now, and then episode 2 in a couple of months, and then episode 3 in a couple of months, and then episode 4 in a couple of months, and be done. Rather than waiting 2 years for it all to be done and released at once kind of thing. So I think based on more news as it comes out, people might change their tune. But at the moment, it's an odd statement. We're releasing it because we don't have faith in consoles.
It's a dangerous precedent to set for other developers. Yeah. I don't want that. What you're describing is DLC. I hate DLC.
Well, we don't even know if that's the case because we don't know how it's going to be packaged. Is it going to be a season pass deal?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be you buy each episode individually, and then if you do, is it going to be full retail price per episode, or is it going to be cheaper? Is it going to be buy a season pass and get them discounted, but still more than a full retail game? We don't know.
It's bad enough, when a television show's on, your Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad or whatever, waiting week to week for an episode. Little, I don't want that to happen in my video games. That sounds absolutely nightmarish.
And then also, how if it is episodic, how is that going to work as far as it being because in my mind, Final Fantasy VII was one of the first sort of open worldy games that I can remember where there was a world map and you could kind of choose where you wanted to go at any one time. If it's episodic, how's that going to work? Do you just kind of?
I'm hoping it adds on personally. So I'm hoping that it will work somewhat like DLC in that they release it episodically and you have to buy the episodes separately, but they add on to create the full game by the time you're done. Because it would suck if you load up episode 1 after the whole thing's out because you want to go to Midgar and you've got to load episode 1, then you run around there and you're like, cool, I'm going to go to the Golden Saucer and do a bit of gambling. Go to travel to the Golden Saucer and it's like, please exit and launch episode 3 or something like that.
Surely it wouldn't. That feels awfully clunky.
So I'm hoping it will just add on as it goes.
Yeah.
So by the time you have all 4 episodes, I don't know how many there's going to be, I'm just guessing 4 because there were 4 discs. But by the time the whole thing's there, you can just play through start to finish uninterrupted. You can go back to any previous episode and so on. I'm thinking episodic, or I'm hoping episodic is just a way to get the content out slightly quicker to people. And over time, and of course measuring sales as they go. But there's not enough information yet to really.
What about Final Fantasy 15? How
that's full completion on disc as far as I'm aware. They haven't announced anything about changing that, and I think if they did at this point in time, that would cause an uproar. Because something interesting about 7 is Square said a long time ago they weren't going to release a new Final Fantasy. They weren't going to remake Final Fantasy 7 until they were confident they had a better game, because they didn't want to remake their best property into their best property again. Like they wanted to feel confident that they had a reason that they had to remake it because it was no longer their best property. So for me, that says that they believe Final Fantasy 15 is better than the original Final Fantasy 7. They now have that property that beats the original 7, so they have need to remake the original 7 into something better.
It's bold to make that call before
pre-release.
15. Yeah, totally. That's the other thing that's getting me about sort of like all the games that are coming out this year. A lot of them, you look at what the release date is, and it's still just being posted as 2016.
TBA.
I just really, come on guys, just give me a date so I can, at least kind of plot it on a calendar and start looking forward to it. It's I don't know, frustrating for me.
It is frustrating. Well, speaking of release dates, we'll move into a few discussion topics here. So there's the game I spoke about last week when we were talking about most anticipated of 2016, The Witness. It's actually coming out this Wednesday.
Yes, which you're quite excited about.
I'm very excited about picking that up. Probably day one, and then probably not playing it until I've finished with The Witcher. I'll be stashing it in my library, but I think it's about $40. I'm not sure if that's
How do you
American.
feel about that? Because that's something that seems to have sparked some debate online.
Really? I'm absolutely fine with that. $40, yeah.
I think the reason is that it was originally, since it's so delayed as well, and there was talk way back when that it was going to be a PS Plus game when it originally came out, sort of 4 years ago or whatever.
Okay.
So the fact that it's so heavily delayed, and then also it's no longer going to be the free title that it was originally promised to be. Some people are upset. I was just wondering, since you were so stoked about it.
I never heard talk of it being a PS Plus game. I just remember hearing it was going to be a release game for the PS4.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been like 5 years in the making, this thing. But no, I'm absolutely fine to pay, $45, $40, $50 kind of thing even for it. Apparently it's got 100 hours at least of gameplay in it.
Wow.
So I'm intrigued, and some of those puzzles I'm probably going to be just sit there staring at it for about an hour. So we're probably 400 hours of gameplay if you count me just staring at the screen while nothing moves and my brain just slowly melting. So I'm very excited
Which
about
is the gameplay experience.
essentially. Yes, absolutely. No, I can't wait for The Witness to come out, so I'll be picking that up on Wednesday, hopefully, if it's on the PlayStation New Zealand PlayStation Store by then. And in that same vein, have you guys seen anything about a game called Firewatch?
I have.
Yes.
I think.
You have? What do you reckon about that? What are you intrigued?
It looks interesting.
It does.
I am actually quite intrigued by it.
So it's a little indie first-person game.
First-person.
Takes
have
place,
a watch. That's about.
It takes place in the American wilderness. You're a fire ranger essentially.
Yeah.
You're in a tower and you're supposed to watch and make sure there's no fires, as the title would entail. But it seems kind of like a thriller. Interestingly enough.
Yeah, I've watched a few gameplay, sort of early gameplay footage videos of it. And that's exactly the vibe I got from it as well. It's there's no sort of intense soundtrack or anything like that, and I think that sort of helps to build suspense. I think you've got a walkie-talkie, and you're
communicating with this person,
and they're kind of giving you hints on the story and all that kind of thing as you go. And what I saw was probably pretty early game where you just spent the first night out in the wilderness kind of thing, and these kind of things, and I think what they did was they had heard there were some youths. Some teenagers about
troublemakers.
Exactly.
Wells.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so they, in this particular gameplay thing, they went off and they picked up some rubbish after these teenagers and found that they had vandalized some things. So that not only were they youths, they were also vandals.
This game sounds amazing. This sounds like my ultimate fantasy. Just
walking around after damn kids.
Just being able to just internalize just this rage I have for the youth of today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
But and so essentially it was nothing too much more than that in this gameplay footage. But there was a real sort of sense of suspense to it, and somehow I can't really nail down how that was achieved, but perhaps it was the lack of music that wasn't sort of just having you ambling along like do 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 do. It there was something about it.
I love those games. They really appeal to me, like The Witness, where it's just you and you're just completely isolated in some sort of area, and that's it. It's just something really special about that feeling. It's just you, and you're just exploring and the developers is guiding.
I'm looking forward to Firewatch. I think it should be quite cool.
I'm trying to remember when the release date. That might be one which just says 2016.
Probably another one.
I'm not entirely sure about that, but I'll definitely be picking that up. And that's another one I'd probably pay $20-$30 kind of thing for. So that'll be interesting. And something else I noticed. Drive Club. The how do we describe this game? The now finished apparently Drive Club. It's been a while. Now the PlayStation Plus version got released. I noticed something very interesting about this. PlayStation Plus version got released a couple months ago, 3 months ago maybe, something like that. I added it to my library. I decided I'd like to check out Drive Club the other day. So I went into my library, tried to install it. It's not that one. It's gone. It's completely gone.
Really?
Even though I've added it to my library, it's fucking gone.
Huh.
They're taking it.
That's odd, because even though PT is no longer in the store, it still shows in my library.
Yeah, so PT is. Yeah, I've got PT in my library as well. Drive Club.
So
nothing to be seen.
Just doesn't work anymore, or is it just gone?
They've just removed it, I think, entirely, and I'm not sure if.
Like
I haven't seen anything about this online. I'm wondering. Like I went through my library, like I was, it's not there. So I went through fine tooth comb. And I was like, it's just not here.
What's happened to it?
Here.
To be fair though, the PlayStation Plus version was.
It was like 2 levels.
Yeah.
1 car, 2 levels.
Yeah. Something
no
ridiculous.
weather. Fuck is weather an add-on? Anyway, So I've heard it's actually a really good game now that it's finished. And that's why hence why I tried to play it. But there's no fucking way I'm buying that.
No.
Not after all those shenanigans.
Yeah, absolutely. And apparently it was awful to start off with, and so it's slowly
broken.
Yeah, it's slowly become a playable game. But then if you've been promised it on PlayStation Plus, and then it's just disappeared. What the fuck?
I just wondered, you just added it to your library but didn't actually have it downloaded? I'm wondering if someone who had it downloaded and maybe had even played it frequently, so it was showing in their list of 10 apps or whatever, I wonder if they would still see it there. Or
Yeah. Because I went into the PlayStation Store and I was like, all right, here's the full version, $39.95 or whatever. That was the only version there. So, okay.
Maybe they had just decided they had to spend so much time and money making it playable that they couldn't feasibly give any aspect of it away for free anymore.
You'd think they'd be a bit more upfront with that, or maybe I just completely missed the news or something. But it was very disappointing, unfortunately. But I'm not a huge racing fan, but I thought Drive Club, it looked really good. I was really intrigued just to have some visual porn essentially, car porn and weather porn. But didn't get either.
The Witcher,
The Witcher. That was before I started playing The Witcher. So the Witcher, the weather porn is definitely there. In the
sated your desire for weather porn.
But in that same vein, you wanted to talk about Gran Turismo.
Yeah. So my brother and I, to give you a little history lesson or backstory here, my brother and I have been big Gran Turismo fans since the word dot. And so every iteration that's come out, I've pretty much always bought it on release because they're just super fun games, and they're like the closest thing you can get to actually driving these cars.
You have a racing wheel,
we've got a wheel, we've got a wheel, pedals, and all that kind of stuff, which is cool. It's basically the only racing game we'll play, but when they do come out, we basically freak it until we've completed everything. And if you've played Gran Turismo in the past and you've never bought yourself a wheel and had to play around on a proper wheel, it's just incredible these days, especially with the previous one, Gran Turismo 6. Like, the feedback you get from the steering wheel is incredible. You'll go along, you'll have the ripple strips on the side of the track and that kind of thing, and you will feel that through the steering wheel, and you'll feel the car give way. It's just amazing. But the next Gran Turismo that's coming up is not a numbered version, so it's not going to be Gran Turismo 7. They're calling it Gran Turismo Sport.
I remember that. That was at E3, I think.
I think so, which is looking quite cool. There's not too many details out about it right now, but you guys have just not.
Gran Turismo 3 came with my PlayStation 2.
Oh, yeah.
That and Jak and Daxter. So I jammed a little bit of that, and I remember back in the day playing Gran Turismo 2 or 1 at a friend's house and doing one of the endurance challenges,
Yep.
and we sellotaped. We've got this contraption where you sort of sellotaped the analog stick forward and X and just scraped the sort of outside of the course. We just had to do 500 laps or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to sit there doing that, so we rigged up this jerry-rigged this device so the car was just going around the outside and just eventually got that challenge, because that's what, you didn't have to do it in a certain time, you just had to do it. It was like 500 laps, so I was like, there's no way I'm sitting here and doing 500 laps of this perfectly circular course.
That's NASCAR for you though.
Yeah. So that's my experience with the game.
The interesting thing about this new one, right, is firstly it could be amazing for VR. I think it could be really, really cool, and apparently it's going to be fully VR compatible, which is awesome. But the thing that really struck me reading about it was that I think it's the FIA, which is I think that's what it's called, the global racing authority. Is going to be managing the GTA or GT Sport as a world, as basically on the same level as Formula One or that kind of thing. So there's going to be proper online races where you can be the world champion of this officially recognised sport.
Yep.
Which boggles my mind. So it's sort of taking esports to the next level, where there's this blurring of the lines between this governing body of motorsport that it recognises, Formula One champions, and on the same level you're going to have Gran Turismo champions. So there will literally be world champions in Gran Turismo, and they play the game, and they are
number one in the world.
That could open it up to really interesting little sort of promotional things. I mean, imagine when you reach the point where there is a world champion, and he's the official world champion, and just running some promo races and being like, here's the world champion of genuine in the real world Formula One. Here's the GT Sport world champion. He's going to go on the same track in the game with the same car that the real champion uses, and they're both going to go around the track, and we're going to see who gets the better time.
Yeah.
It just sounds like Top Gear, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it really interests me, and that would be really cool. And how many gaming nerds would potentially get into motorsport?
I tell you what, that guy at ESPN who was raging that I think it was COD or Halo became an esport and ESPN was broadcasting it, he's going to have a shit fit after hearing that. Because he's like, if this becomes an actual sport, classified as an actual sport, I'm going to leave ESPN. It did. He left. So he's
was he? No, I don't think it was him. There was a dude who made some equally outlandish statements when I think it was Heroes of the Storm was on ESPN.
Oh, okay.
It was called Heroes of the Dorm, and it was a college-sponsored esport tournament thing that was on ESPN. And the casters weren't shoutcasters for the games; they were ESPN sportscasters, and they were losing their shit because they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what they were meant to be doing. They're like, "This isn't even a sport. These kids need to get laid." It was hilarious to see. I've seen highlight reels and stuff on YouTube, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how gamers are the ones kind of looked down upon as it's the weird thing, and when the people who are the kind of the real world jocks and sporties and everything are really the ones being weird by just being so incredibly unaccepting of a different thing potentially holding as much import to a group of people as their thing that they enjoy. It boggles my mind that they think it's so weird that people have different tastes and preferences, and it's mental.
It is pretty incredible. But the other thing that excites me about that game is the VR side of it as well, because I think in the last podcast we were talking about how ridiculous it would be to be wearing a GIMP suit and walking around with a podcast a VR headset on. Whereas with this, if you've got a VR headset, a steering wheel, and some pedals,
you're going to stand in a GIMP suit.
Sans GIMP suit, no GIMP suit required. That just transfers so beautifully.
It does, yeah.
And that's one of the things where where playing it on a racing game is a little bit tough, because if you're on a real track, if you're taking a right hand turn, you're looking to your right and you're spotting the rest of the turn, and so that's kind of a little bit of what you miss out on when you're playing it on a console or on whatever system. Whereas VR headset, boom, it can't get too much more real.
It might be the thing to finally kind of bridge that gap for people who, like me, who don't play racing games in first person. Because you don't have that immersion. I'm like, no, I have to play it in third person because I need to see more of the track around me coming up before I do it. And I think VR would be that thing to finally be like, well, I'm going to play it first person now.
Yeah, especially and with games like GT where the interiors of the car and the level of detail that they put into that is just as amazing as the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's an achievement in and of itself.
And so it just sounds great to be able to look around your cockpit and be able to spot the turns and all that kind of stuff, and then having this fully globally recognized kind of championship sounds really awesome. So that's quite cool. I'm quite excited to see where that goes and how that impacts on things. And maybe it'll get some other people who aren't necessarily into that sort of stuff into a bit of motorsport.
I do remember that actually now, because I remember watching the E3 broadcast last year, and it's 3 hours long or whatever, and I remember skipping through certain bits, and I'm pretty sure that Street Fighter V, any dancing stuff, any sports games, those are the bits I skipped through. So I think I saw GT Sport and I was like, alright, yeah, not really interested, so I fast forward. But that does sound really, really intriguing, not as something I'd want to play, but just something that's, the melding of those two worlds.
It can only have a positive impact on kind of the development of this technology moving forward.
I think so, yeah.
That's cool. Cool, so we'll probably move on to anything weird or glitches that we've noticed. And anything you guys have been playing in the last 2 weeks?
Given that I've been in the same boat as you, still playing The Witcher, aside from Roach still deciding that he's going to be sporting himself in the weirdest places, on the top of roofs and all that kind of thing. I hadn't seen this personally, but apparently there has been a patch for The Witcher, I think maybe on the PC version, that you can get, and it messes up it gives you sort of like a first person view, but as a result of that, it messes up the way all the characters look when they're walking about.
Oh god.
So so I think to make it work, the first person view work, what they've done is squashed the characters up so their legs are like this, so that when you look down you can't see Geralt's leg. Something along those lines. But it's carried over to a lot of the NPCs in the game, and so they're walking about and their legs are kind of tucked up underneath them as though they're sort of sitting on the ground and kind of like a yoga pose type thing, but then their legs are kind of moving like this, and they're just, everything else is dead serious, but they're all floating about 3 feet above the ground in like a squashed up leg position and just moving about like this. It is hilarious, and especially when you go up and you talk to someone and they're still dead set serious, but their legs are sort of up in their pelvis, kind of like, thanks for seeing my notice on the board. I'm glad you came to help me out.
Just to confirm, this is a mod, right? Not a patch.
I'm not sure.
It can't be a patch.
It seemed, because I didn't think that there was a first person mode. So perhaps it is a mod. I think maybe on the article that it used the word patch, which is very misleading. But that's one thing I spotted. But I haven't seen too much, like as far as glitchy stuff goes in the actual game. We all know it's pretty good, like as far as open world game stuff goes.
Yeah, there's definite glitches. I'll encounter at least one glitch every time I play it. Things I've noticed in Overgrad, this quite often happens, is the mini map will just not, half of it will just be black, like the little mini map, and it'll load in, and that's all well and good. But the weird thing about Witcher is the jump, like your normal jump. It just seems so out of place in that game. So incredibly out of place. It's the most bizarre. It doesn't look like he jumps at all. He just kind of levitates into the air, like a couple of feet into the air. And considering that game is all about feeling really weighty and you can't really turn that well. And I whinged about it before, but considering all that, it's very strange they've had this sort of like weird kind of old timey prancing jump that he does. So I've just taken it upon myself to use that jump whenever I can and sort of just prance around the world like that. Be like particularly jovial. Completed a quest or something. I'll just be prancing around, and that leads to some very interesting object interaction, wherein he'll try and climb something, but then it'll actually be part of a mountain, so he'll be climbing and sliding at the same time.
Yeah.
I've actually flipped the character model upside down doing that before, so I was sliding on my head down the mountain. So there's some pretty interesting stuff. I lost my horse into a lake. I was running full bore and didn't see this drop, and then there was a lake down there, and the horse just went, and I bailed off the horse, and the horse just went whoa into the lake, and that was I role played the fact that he was gone, and I didn't use. Maybe that's why I'm not using my horse. He actually just perished.
You threw him off a cliff.
He's gone. Yeah, totally. He's done with. But yeah, that's all I've really noticed. Belzer?
I mean, obviously trialing a few different games, you notice a few things. So I've noticed a couple of things, both semi kind of pop in or just character positioning related. The first being I have to break a kind of previous oath I made to myself to not bring up Xenoblade Chronicles anymore. Because I've talked about it enough. But there was a frustrating point where every now and again you'll get a whole find out where this person is or get some more information about this person. It will effectively involve you canvassing an area until you find someone and basically eavesdrop on a conversation where they're talking about it. It basically just involves walking past someone and you'll overhear something and it'll update your objective. And there was this one particular quest where I canvassed this area, hopped in my scale, ran it repeatedly, kind of because, bigger legs, longer steps, canvass it quickly, back and forth. Turns out this character you have to overhear talking, only appears if you're on foot because the game suffers from quite severe pop-in being such a large open-world Wii U game. But also, there's such a minor character that in fact only appears when you're on this one quest that it takes about 2 minutes of you standing still in the exact spot where they stand before they'll actually load in. So I spent about half an hour canvassing this area and I was like, there's nothing here. So I went to the internet and I was like, all right, what the hell? Maybe he's underneath, because I was on an area in the city where underneath is kind of little platforms and water, and I was like, I don't see anything, but I know this game has pop-in issues, so maybe he's meant to be on one of those platforms, whatever. I go on the internet and it just said, hey, they're just north of the water processing plant, and I went and stood there and was like, I've been here heaps of times, there's no one here. Further down in the thread, someone said, oh yeah, hey, he won't appear if you're in a scale because he's too small, so he won't load in, they won't bother load him. Also, he won't load for about 2 minutes. You have to stand precisely at this point on the mini-map for him to appear, and I stood there for about 2 minutes and finally he loaded in.
Do you call that game breaking? That's pretty shitty.
The thing is, it's terrible. It is atrocious. I wouldn't call it game breaking because I'm still so incredibly in love with the game. It's such a great game. It is a severe issue with the game. I can't really call it a glitch or a bug because it's something the game does. It has pop-in. It doesn't load everything unless it believes you need something to be there. But it is a serious issue when the game can't detect what you're actually doing, like why you're standing in an area, and for it to take that long to load in a character that, honestly, if you're like me, you're probably going to be running through that block of the city in your scale in an up-down path in the marked zone on your minimap, just trying to quickly find them and run past them, which happens on 99% of the quests that operate that way. So you're not really going to be getting out on foot and slowly walking the streets trying to find the character. So I feel like that was pretty crap.
It does almost sound game breaking to me, because think about it, if we didn't have the internet
didn't exist, then
it would
be
theoretically just be like, right.
Chances are, if you hang around in the area long enough on foot, not on your scale, you might load in.
Yep.
In which case, if you did canvass it for 20 minutes on foot the whole time, you might have come across them.
Right.
It could have purely been because I don't like running on foot because it's so much slower than running in your scale, so I just run in there and he doesn't load if you're in it, which like you said, no internet could be game breaking. Definitely a mark off, and something bad enough for me to raise that there is an issue with this game, which previously I wasn't prepared to do. So and another thing similar is in the Old Republic, there was just an amusing cutscene where a character was supposed to be walking away while I was talking with someone else, because it was supposed to be kind of private conversation, so one of them would dismiss the other one and be like, come back in a minute. And I noticed that we were talking to him again like he was supposed to be there, but he wasn't there, and I was like, where's he gone? And as the camera was cutting back and forth, I realised, where did he actually even walk off to? We're in a big open hallway. Where did he even go? Like, I never really saw him walk off anywhere. And then it cut to a shot later on where he'd walked off again, and it cut to where he was, showing that he was turning and coming back, and it looked like he was maybe meant to be on a balcony overlooking Coruscant, I believe I was on.
But
he wasn't. He was in nothingness. He was just standing in nothingness. And the camera follows him as he turns and walks back towards us, and he just walks through a wall and then is standing next to us again, and he's there. And it looks like potentially this quest existed before the map was maybe at some point remodeled, and originally there was maybe a door there that led out onto a balcony, but now it's just a large hallway, and he walks through the wall. When we dismiss him, he just walks away through the wall, and then when we call him back, he walks back through the wall again, and that's it. And no one mentions it. And it was just really strange.
Great.
I actually, to this day, have no idea what that quest or conversation was about, because I was trying to find this guy the whole time, and I was like, where is this guy gone? What's going on? It turns out he just walks through the wall.
That mythical man that exists beyond game.
Yeah, I tried to get through there, and it can't be done, so...
Wow.
It's the fourth dimension.
Yeah.
Alright, I think that probably just about wraps us up for this episode, unless you guys got anything else you want to touch on briefly.
Good. Have a good week, everyone. Enjoy the games. Yeah.
We'll be
if
back
you're in Wellington, enjoy the anniversary day.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. We've got Wellington anniversary on Monday, so it's another day off to get some video in. And it's looking like it's not clearing up at all out there, so we'll enjoy the rest of this nice time. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you back in about 2 weeks. Catch you later.
Bye.